Just half a scoop of the Big J's Intensity pre-workout served up by Gina of the Smoothie Factory in Waxahachie, Texas. She is now carrying the Big J Intensity pre-workout on the shelves there. Her information is in the description box. If you're in the local area, you can swing by there and pick you up a tub right before you come out to Intensityville, which is only a couple of miles down the road. Buys and tries for tonight's workout. What's up, Internet? Big J with Big J's Extreme Fitness. This is part of my new program. I was deployed last week for about 7 or 8 days, and I started 2 weeks ago on my new training program. It's kind of what I used to do when I was bodybuilding and competing, and it would be day 1, chest and buys, day 2, legs, day 3, shoulders and tries, day 4, back, and day 5, another arm day. So I'd hit arms, of course, when I was doing my chest and my shoulders and back as well, but on a separate day too. So that's when I had the best results. My arms were about 21 inches when I was competing back in the 80s and 90s, actually just the 90s and early 2000s. But I thought, man, I really want to get in the best shape I can during this winter time and see how good I can look this coming summer. So back on that bodybuilding program training regimen and having a lot of fun with it. So I'll put the links in the description box for day 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then this will obviously be the day 5. And usually I'll take a day, maybe even 2 days off, and then start back with day 1. We're doing buys and tries tonight, and tomorrow we're training with one of the guys that was in the first YouTube video that I produced, along with Jeremy here. And we're just going to do chest. So we're going from buys and tries back to day 1 for chest. We're skipping the triceps or biceps, but then when we go back to shoulders, we'll be doing the triceps. Enough talking. Here's the workout. Started with light bicep curls, moved up to heavier. We were doing them together at first, and then we moved on to going the single arm alternate dumbbell curls. That way we could concentrate more on the heavier weight and not slinging our backs out of whack while we're trying to lift such heavy weight. And what I really like to do, especially when I'm doing buys and tries together, I'll do one bicep exercise, then I'll move on to the tricep exercise. Then I'll go back to a bicep exercise. Excuse me. That way, it will basically give you plenty of rest and some recovery time, so you don't just wear out that tiny muscle. Your biceps may be 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 inches, but you look at the bicep itself, and it really is a tiny muscle. Triceps, too, they're very small, so I like to give them a break in between body parts. So I'll do a bicep and a tricep, just like I said. So we got done with the bicep curls, going to the tricep push-downs, cable push-downs. And, we're doing good, strict squeezes and slow repetitions. We could have added probably another 45 on there for those push-downs. But the control of the weight and the squeezing and the whatnot, it really felt just right. So we didn't add any weight. Of course, we're going to do lots of volume tonight. So we're moving on to the bicep curls. I like to lean my butt against the preacher curl there and utilize that cable. And Jeremy pointed something out to me last night. I usually stand straight up when I do those, but he informed me that when he leaned back, he got much more of a stretch at the bottom. And even though I can't really extend that left arm out all the way, I still felt really good leaning back a little bit more. So maybe a 15-degree lean. Got a really good stretch. And, of course, the squeeze at the top was perfect. So there we go. Finishing up my second set. And on these exercises, we did 2 to 4 heavy-duty sets. I don't know why we did so much volume. We were both feeling pretty good. First day back since I've been gone for a week, so we had plenty of energy. And, man, I'm feeling it right now. Doing this voiceover, my arms are really tight. So moved on to triceps. I wanted to do some individual tricep work, and I really think this is one of the greatest exercises for me. It's a single overhead extension. Now, I really like to point my elbow straight up in the air and even farther back. And the farther your elbow is up and away from your body, the more of the long head you're going to work. So pushing it out and away and upright. Going to hit that long head, pushing it down and towards the ground, you're going to hit that short head. And this is really one of my favorite exercises. Single overhead extension. And we're kind of warming up for that exercise. The stack is not heavy enough for both hands, so we're kind of fatiguing. And then we were actually almost too fatigued when we both went to both hands. And we're just kind of burning out there. I think we did like 20 to 50 reps, one set. That's his finishing set there, and then I did. And you see how slow and controlled we're moving. Really, just like a lot of you guys talk about, there's people that'll sling the weights and go for reps, and there's people that'll control the weights and explode and squeeze. Tons and tons of different variations you can utilize. but we were going kind of slow on that overhead extension. Really a great exercise. Keep those elbows straight up in the air, maybe a little bit farther back than straight up. Really get a good stretch at the bottom, get a good explosion, a good squeeze at the top. Moving on to straight bar curls, and let me tell you, this is an ego lift for me. The first rep, it killed me. We started laughing at each other. Had to get serious. And then I did. You know, again, I'm laying it back, and I used to do these, you know, probably 20 reps. I actually used to do like a wheel and maybe even a quarter. I think I've attempted 225 back about 10, 15, 20 years ago. But this is the first time I picked up a straight bar curl with 135 pounds, and man, it kicked my butt. But, you know, again, really getting back into training these arms hard. I want to keep them above 19 and a half inches. They get smaller than that, then, boy, I got to change my job. I got to get working harder on them. So there we go, another first rep killing me. And probably this third rep, I was just in the groove. And keep in mind, I warmed up, like I've told you guys before. I started with the bar, then I put a dime on there, then I put a quarter on there. And 45 was probably just a hair too heavy for me, but you know what? If you don't overload those muscles, they're not going to grow. So moving on to the triceps, again, bis and tris, back and forth. I like to get a really good angle on this bench. I don't like to lay flat because it just kills my elbows. And I get more of a stretch when I go above my head like you see instead of to the forehead. And actually a couple times there, I just needed to get used to the exercise. But again, warmed up with a quarter. Moving on to Jeremy's got it just right. His elbows could be in just a little bit more, but he's got a wrist problem. He's still nursing that injury he got 2 weeks ago while hunting. And of course, everything I got on me needs relubed. I got to get some oil fittings on my elbows and my shoulders and my knees and my back. It'd be nice if you could do that, wouldn't it? But there we go. I'm just in the right groove there. Elbows are pointed upright. Doing the best I can not to use the chest and the shoulders and the lats, which you'll see that a lot of times when guys get a little bit heavier. They'll start using a whole lot of the rest of the body instead of the triceps, and I'm guilty of doing that as well. But that was the end of that tricep exercise, and I jumped over to the closed grip tricep presses, and I was burned up after that. One of the last exercises here, I like using the V-bar for these curls. You can get a whole lot more of the lower bicep and the upper forearm, which is, again, what we're trying to do, get that whole arm worked in there. But we focused more so, if you go back to day one, our chest and biceps, we were focusing all on the lower portion of the bicep and the forearm. This time we were working more on the short head of the bicep and the peak. So this is the last exercise. We decided to go ahead and go to the V-bar, especially since it's been more than 2 weeks since we did the bis on our day one exercise. It's a good finish exercise, and it's really good for mass too, because you can get a little bit more weight there if you turn your hands in that V angle. And you could really concentrate. I love the Larry Scott curl, or the preacher curl, and with the cables. Really an amazing exercise. It really focuses on the peak and the elongation of the bicep, however you want to do it, the different angles. You can even do an overhand curl, which of course you'd have to draw out the weight. But that was it, last exercise. 4 exercises, went back and forth, bis and tris, and went to Junior's Barbecue for my favorite place to eat in the whole wide world. I'll tell you that all day long. They got the best chicken, great potatoes, good old Texas sweet tea, a little bit of barbecue sauce, perfect post-workout meal. Happy Veterans Day to all my brothers and sisters in arms out there, my soldiers that I served with back in the day, and to every one of my subscribers, followers, brothers, sisters, and arms, I just salute you guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. Until next time, intensity rules, train hardcore, and we'll see you next video.